Hello, my name's Justin the Clue, and I'm here today with
Will Sloan.
And you're listening to the Important Cinema Club. And today, we're meeting one of our best friends, Winnie the Pooh.
I don't know. I think I've reached the point in every boy's life when
you have to move past him.
He gets too old. You have to move out of the 100-acre wood.
But Will, he's here. This is maybe the only episode of the Important Cinema Club where the subject is here recording with us, a gigantic Winnie the Pooh.
Oh man, I wish this wasn't I wish this was a visual medium so you could see Justin.
I'll take a photo.
Justin pulled out a giant Winnie the Pooh. Did you win this at like a carnival? Or?
No, so we bought it at Disneyland because Emily wanted a big... Okay, Will is making out with the Winnie the Pooh right now.
So beautiful.
All right, let go, Will. Emily used it as a big pillow because she was having a bit of a pain in her sides when we were sleeping on the hotel bed. So now we got a giant one.
Winnie the Pooh is always there for you. And it's going to be hard for me to not work blue on this episode, as you can tell.
Have you been getting like brain worms recently?
I don't know.
What is going on?
I don't know what's going on, but it's just like you show me a big Winnie the Pooh doll.
And you're like, I want to have sex with this
thing.
Exactly. I like how parents are clicking on this being like, a safe episode about Winnie the Pooh.
I mean, Winnie the Pooh, he's a pog. What can you say? I mean, there's a lot of junk in that trunk. And,
now, were you a Winnie the Pooh kid growing up?
I had on VHS a little movie called Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, which is, 25 minutes long?
Yep. It's a part of the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
And it was one of several theatrically released Winnie the Pooh featurettes. Disney would release them with other movies, and they were advertised like regular movies, but 3 of these short films were later assembled into 1977's The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. And so this one, Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, I did watch on VHS many times.
Yeah.
And watching it again this week for the first time in
25 years.
5 years. Yeah. It's interesting. You realize like how your relationship with things changes from when you were a child, right down to like as a kid, I was so fascinated by just like the texture of the honey, just the way it looked, the way it moved on screen. I was interested in the way the water looked. I don't know. As a kid, sometimes you latch on to like seemingly irrelevant details that become invisible to you as you get older.
Well, I think that like Winnie the Pooh is for those basically like 2 to 5 year olds. Like they attach to it. It's very uneventful, so it's something that you can watch over and over and over again because there isn't really anything threatening in most classic Winnie the Pooh media, and it's also about characters who are basically all assholes. And there's not really any moral lessons if you watch those classic shorts.
So why are we doing Winnie the Pooh this week? Of all the subjects, why Winnie the Pooh?
Well, I was thinking a lot about Winnie the Pooh because I went to Disneyland. I rode the Winnie the Pooh ride. All iconography that I've seen like thousands of times, but not one that I'm that attached to. Like I don't think like, oh, I need to go watch Winnie the Pooh or I need this Winnie the Pooh thing. It was something that I loved when I was a kid. My mom would say stuff like, oh, you would wake me up at 6 a.m. in the morning just to go watch Winnie the Pooh on VHS, like wearing that VHS because you just wanted to watch it again and again and again.
And what was your Winnie the Pooh VHS?
I don't remember. I mean,
was it The Many Adventures?
I think it was probably The Many Adventures, but then again, because we're close to the same age, I think it was probably just a short that I watch over and over and over again. And I'm a kid. I don't care. Like, it's just iconography that I recognize. And I've also been interested because I'm about to be a father soon, and like why these are the things that kids latch onto. Like Winnie the Pooh has continued from its early creation as a book until now, and that iconography continues, and kids still latch onto that.
And it's easy as an adult to lose touch with what it was. And like, obviously there are a lot of things that older kids like superhero movies or Star Wars,
that makes
stuff
sense.
like that people carry on with them. But we're talking about entertainment that's specifically for like 6 years old and under. What are the things that like, you know, your brain just works differently then? What are the things then that you latched on to?
And how has the entertainment industry, basically Disney, because they own the rights to Winnie the Pooh, continue to kind of bring it back? That has been something that's fascinated me of like, is there a bunch of Winnie the Pooh stuff I'm unfamiliar with or movies? Has it changed over the years? Spoiler alert, it really hasn't. That like those like theatrical shorts have basically just been reiterated over and over and over again, and very rarely have any kind of Winnie the Pooh media like gone away from those things.
The core principles.
The core principles, yeah. Because like Winnie the Pooh, let's give a little bit of background. He was
created by A.A. Milne.
That's
and
right.
Of course, I saw the Canadian Heritage Moment.
Okay.
You did too.
We need to explain Canadian Heritage Moments to people, which are basically interstitials between commercials in Canada that were a little like moment of Canadian history.
It was like a public service announcement,
Yeah.
basically.
A little narrative, though.
And look them up on YouTube right now if you're not Canadian. Every Canadian knows these.
Okay, but what's funny about Winnie the Pooh is it's just a Canadian bear.
That's
Like,
right.
'cause the
And
author,
this speaks to
oh god,
how pathetic Canada
like
is.
Christopher Robin and his father, they were not Canadian; they were British.
Yeah, so the Canadian Heritage Moments, they were a minute long and they were little dramas and they had actors and such. The most famous one, ask any Canadian, they know it, is the basketball one.
Because they
Peach
played it
baskets.
over and over again. The invention of basketball.
Yeah. This was I've seen this 500 times.
Now, do you remember the one about the Halifax explosion, which was like very extreme? Yeah, some kids who saw it, I think it got pulled very quickly, or it's about like someone trying to keep the explosion from going off.
I love this idea, like the secret, like the bootleg Canadian Heritage Moment. We passed this around with our copies of Faces of Death.
I think it was the Halifax explosion. It could have been something else, but
the Winnie the Pooh one, my memory is that it's like
they're at the zoo.
Yeah, and it's like a guy who's a soldier, basically.
Mm-hmm.
He served in World War One, and he's there with his son, and they see a bear, and he says, "Oh, what do you think of that bear? He's I bet he sure likes some honey, you know." And the kid,
Winnie.
The kid said, "Winnie, he's Winnie the Pooh," and he said, "Why Pooh?" And he said, "I don't know.
I'm a kid. I love fecal matter. What do you want from me?"
Yeah, saying, well, you better put an H at the end of that. I'm paraphrasing this Heritage Moment.
But it plays over. There's no information there. There's nothing.
And again, I cannot reiterate enough. The bear is Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
His creation was not.
Now, I've always wanted to do a Heritage Moment, which is James Cameron hallucinating while shooting Piranha 2 and seeing the Terminator hand come up. That would fit with all the other stuff that we've mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
And so Winnie the Pooh, Christopher Robin, the real one, hated his father. He actually like split away from the family. And the mother, after the success of the two books, there's only 2 Winnie the Pooh books. There's another book where there's like some like Winnie and characters appear in it.
What are you talking about? I have a trillion Winnie the Pooh books that the Disney Corporation put out. By the way, I need to correct a fact that you stated, an incorrect fact you stated. Disney does not own the exclusive rights to Winnie the Pooh anymore.
The world does now.
Because you may have seen a little movie from 2023 called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I almost said Blood and Thunder.
I mean, that's the 4th one. You know, if Disney wanted to sue those guys, they could, because they're using the iconography.
They're using the red shirt.
Yeah, which
that was not in the A.A. Milne books.
Did you read the A.A. Milne? Were they read to you, I mean?
No, in
Me
fact,
neither.
I only just flipped through them for the first time this week, and they're very charming.
Yeah,
They're
very charming.
very
Cross-hatching,
gentle,
little
cute.
drawings.
Yeah, the drawings are beautiful, and I think you would agree that Disney. I would not call the Disney cartoons a betrayal of the spirit of them.
No, not really.
But they're
Softened them.
they're Disney-fied, you know?
So the mother of Christopher Robin sold the rights supposedly for $1,000 because she's like, I don't want anything to do with this anymore. And I don't want Christopher Robin, when I'm on my deathbed, to come begging for that Winnie the Pooh money. So
We can go beg to somebody who really won't listen to his tears, Walt Disney.
she sold it to Steven Schlesinger in one of the first kind of selling, iconography and merchandising. He made Winnie the Pooh a phenomenon. And it's not quite, he's the one who created the red shirt. That was his creation. It wasn't Disney.
Because he said this bear's naked. We gotta
he just needs to be pantsless.
Yeah.
That's it. And so, big hit, merchandising up the wazoo. Disney, they get the rights to it. They struggle for a long time about what they should do. They're kind of cash strapped when they finally do make the movies in the 60s. So they're like, let's make shorts, I guess. That's what we'll do.
And as they so often do, Disney, I think, completely colonized our perception of these characters.
Absolutely.
Just like with Snow White or Sleeping Beauty or any of these. When you think Winnie the Pooh, you think the Disney Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, he's yellow as opposed to the brown bear, basically as he appears in the book.
Softened, yeah.
Yeah, and that all the other characters are pretty close. Like Piglet looks the same. It's mostly Winnie the Pooh that was rounded and made kid friendly. So there were 3 theatrical shorts that make up the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which is oftentimes the most watched Winnie the Pooh media, and that is Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree, Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, Winnie the Pooh and Tiger 2.
Tigger 2.
Tigger 2.
Tigger,
Oh, God,
come on.
I know, sorry.
What the fuck?
Here's the thing. not a big Tigger fan.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that, yeah. And
I'm glad he's the only one. Let's put it that way.
there were some other ones, like there's an educational short that they farmed out called Winnie the Pooh Discovers the Seasons from 1981.
And who could forget Winnie the Pooh in Too Smart for Strangers, where
you're going way too far here. Yeah,
where everyone should look that up. It's two guys dressed as Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, and they warn you against getting into the bad man's van. And we all saw this in class.
Yep, because to jump ahead, they made a TV show which was Winnie the Pooh. What was it? Welcome to Pooh Corner. And they did tons of episodes. It's whole because it was so cheap to make. It's just guys in suits running around.
They're like, oh, the kids will take this. They'll accept this.
And then,
Fuck.
when I say like guys in suits, you're like, oh, like Godzilla and all the. I mean, they are monsters on screen, but like horrifying.
It's
ones.
like the worst Disneyland like suit acting.
Yeah,
shit.
it's kind of like the suits you'd expect if you go to like Winnie the Pooh and there's like no H on the end. It's like kind of bootleg ones that they look off. You're like, why does Winnie have whites in his eyes? It's so scary. All right, so but going back to these theatrical shorts, I was surprised watching it at how like not cheap it was.
Well, no, I had fully prepared. My perception of these Winnie the Pooh animated shorts was this was a nadir of the Disney company. They were cash strapped. Yeah, they were making Super Dad with the guy from Autofocus. Bob Crane.
Yeah.
They're making Kirk Douglas movies. But yeah, these Winnie the Pooh short films, they're tastefully done.
Yes.
They're sort of like low key, but they leave a lot to the imagination.
There's so many smart ways that they approach the material because these Winnie the Pooh stories, like, there's not really that much going on in them. So, like, how do you make it visually interesting? And the concept of making it a meta movie where, oh, you know these books, but now the books are alive.
Yeah.
And the characters are aware that they're in a book, too.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what you respond to as a kid as well, too.
You're right. It is an early meta exercise of like, oh, isn't it? And like, I mean, I think as a kid, one of the reasons Toy Story resonated so much was the idea of like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if these toys had an inner life?
Yeah, and everybody has toys.
Yeah.
So you understand that.
And the same thing with the books. I like the pace of these shorts. I mean, maybe we should say what The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is about exactly.
What is it about?
Well, it's about 70 minutes.
Yeah, and Winnie the Pooh wants honey.
Yeah, so that's the first segment, which comes from Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree. We're introduced to Winnie the Pooh. Folks, this man wants honey. You know how Cookie Monster likes cookies? Well...
So the thing about Winnie the Pooh, and I haven't thought about this in a long time, but watching these shorts, this guy rules because, like, he's lazy, he's really dumb. So when I think of kids' entertainment, I think of, like, Sesame Street. That's very kind of moral, and it's teaching you lessons. And these characters, they can be wacky, but they are kind of understandable for children, or as an adult, you're like, oh yeah, this is what I would want a child to see.
And they have to teach you some kind of lesson.
Yeah. Winnie the Pooh, there's none of that. Like, he wakes up and he's like, I'm hungry.
And I also like, it's early on established, I'm going to eat candy and
honey,
sugary stuff.
That's all I want.
Yeah. And it's like, kids, the lesson is spoil your appetite, eat completely irresponsibly, and have a big fat ass like I do.
Now, did you notice that I don't know how conscious this is, but like, because they couldn't do the cross-hatching in the movie, one of the techniques is the characters are all a little bit sketchy in the film.
I love it.
And to the point that you actually see the lines that they utilize to like form a head at some moments when they're moving around.
I mean, a kid wouldn't consciously think about this, but I think one of the things that might have unconsciously appealed to me as a kid was how much room is left in the imagination to fill in the blanks. When you see the 100-acre wood in the backdrop, which is beautifully rendered in this sort of like, I don't know if it actually was watercolor. It's obviously meant to sort of simulate like what an English watercolor painting would look like. But everything is just a little bit, you kind of see just the immediate surroundings. You never get a sense of like, because you're like a child in that
Doesn't
woods.
matter.
It put me back in the headspace of like being a small child in a wooded area where I'm so small, and like the wooded area becomes like, I want it to be mysterious.
And Winnie the Pooh as a character, like, he wants one thing. As a child, you can understand that feeling.
Yeah.
And no one learns any lesson. No one apologizes in any of these shorts. And like, every character is a kind of different kind of broken. You have Piglet, just a worrywart. Like, he hates it. Rabbit, a sociopath who wants to lead one of his friends out to the forest to basically die because he's tired of him. And there's a lot of complicated things happening in these shorts that as a kid, I think you absorb subconsciously. Like the way that Rabbit doesn't want Winnie the Pooh to come to his house because he's going to eat all his honey, but he can't say no because he's polite. And when Winnie the Pooh gets stuck trying to get out of the hole, Rabbit would rather just Winnie the Pooh stay there and die, I guess, than Winnie the Pooh just back up and be able to leave.
What about Owl? Is he broken?
Yeah, he's an arrogant blowhard that's completely egotistical.
What about Kanga and Roo?
Don't do that! Don't do that! That's basically Kanga, and Roo is just a kid. Like, he was just chaos. And then you got Eeyore. I mean, that's the easiest. He's depressed. He rules.
I love Eeyore. He's a bit of a Debbie Downer, but
I was always disturbed as a kid, the like tail falling off, because then you have to start thinking about the physiology of Eeyore, or the way that like in that first short, they let you know that Pooh is a stuffed animal. Like he rips. Like he's like, oh, I ripped. And then it's like, wait a minute. But then he's eating honey? How does this work?
And he's in the forest. He lives in the forest.
And Rabbit is a real rabbit, though. He is not a stuffed animal.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it, like, the proof is in the pudding that it works because generations of children have enjoyed this and it's made perfect sense to them. I think maybe if you're a child looking at this, it sort of simulates the ad hoc nature of your surroundings, all the things you have.
It's like Toy Story, right? Where like I have stuffed animals. Do they live an exterior life that I'm not aware of?
You have stuffed animals. You also have pets. You also have...
You play in the forest.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You understand all of these, and you have books.
And all that is part of your world. And it's all kind of democratic in your world.
And then you have Tigger. And so I was trying to remember. I must have loved Tigger when I was a kid, because all kids love Tigger.
I sure did. Yeah.
You know the Tigger song? I don't know.
Oh, the wonderful thing about Tigger is Tigger's wonderful thing is... I
mean, they use it as time filler a lot in this movie, and you also see the same recycled animation over and over again.
So Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, which is the middle segment of The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, I think you'll agree is the most jam-packed. It has the most incident. The most stuff happens in it. There's a flood, for example, that poor Piglet has to send a message in a bottle to be rescued from. There's the Heffalumps and Woozles.
Great sequence.
The show-stopping, surrealist Heffalumps and Woozles.
And this is another thing that all kids understand is like an exterior threat that is monstrous, but can also be anything.
That's right.
And at the same time, like, I guess the flood is exterior action happening, but most of these, like Winnie the Pooh things, they don't have the big, like, we go to the city and we have an adventure, or there's never a threat, because they're always fictional, like the thing, other than the interdynamics in between each other, like that goddamn owl who's like, I'm gonna take Piglet's house for some reason, and then Winnie's like, I guess you're gonna move in with me, Piglet. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, he's a settler. It's just like the West Bank.
Colonialism, those British.
but in the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, you see Tigger begin to colonize the Winnie the Pooh franchise.
Yes.
He comes on strong.
Yeah, Fonzieing it up in the...
I think he's great when he's first introduced.
Yes.
He comes on, it's like, well, this is a breath of fresh air. After all that gentle...
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh, like, oh, I'm going to take... I can't do a Winnie the Pooh voice, can you?
No, I can't do it.
Yeah. Will, master of voices, you're going to have to work on your Winnie the Pooh.
I'll have to go back to the impressions I can do. I'm Woody Allen.
So I think, though, that like Winnie the Pooh as a character is also important, that he's very gentle in the way that he speaks, and that there's not that many kind of dumb, gentle characters that are universally beloved, that it's like, oh, like even Christopher Robin, he's like, you stupid ass bear, like every time that he sees him.
He's always talking trash in an affectionate way. But I like Winnie the Pooh as somebody who, he's Falstaffian, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a man of like uncontrollable appetites. He's not that smart, but fundamentally he has a good heart, or he's too dumb to have a bad heart.
Oh man, is it in a Blustery Day? No, it's in the next one where that meme comes from of like Pooh like half lidded, like sitting in a chair. You've seen that one, right? With him in a chair, him with a monocle, him in a suit. Yeah. And like, but like just that animation, like even disconnected from the meme, it looks so funny that like you can understand why you would latch on to something that like Pooh's memeing it up in this movie. That as a kid, that's what you want. You want these images that you can latch onto, and it's different than, you know, or it's a starting point into the like anarchy that would be Looney Tunes, which is the next level you move into.
But regarding Tigger, who is much more of a Looney Tunes type character.
Yeah, he's got no game though. Like he's got nothing.
Well, he's wacky.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
The wonderful thing about Tigger, and he's bouncing around.
I think my heart sank when the third segment is introduced.
It's like, hey, and then Tigger show.
The narrator says, "You like Tigger? You're gonna get a lot more of
Tigger."
him. And I thought, I'm here for Winnie the Pooh.
Where do you stand on the Southern Gopher that Disney introduced to the series?
Oh yeah, I don't know about
Don't like that guy.
either.
Get him out of here.
But I'm here for Winnie the Pooh. I like the gentle, almost Miyazaki-and rhythm.
And he's funny. He says like dumb, like wise person stuff. Like,
and I also think like if this is for like 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, let's have a thing that's just gentle. Let's acclimatize them to a different kind of pace. Do we really have to pander to them just yet?
no, you don't. And the thing about these movies too is that like if any adult like thought about it for a second, it's like, well, I don't know if I want my kid watching this, but that's why it's great, because they do, because it's been like, you know, baked into culture. And every kid should watch this kind of stuff.
Okay, can we talk about the Tigger movie?
Yeah, so these 3 shorts, very successful. A bunch of Winnie the Pooh, like we said, that horrifying Welcome to Pooh Corner. What a terrible name. Welcome to Pooh Corner?
It's where they poo.
Yeah, exactly. And did you ever watch, I know I did as a kid, there was a syndicated Disney animated show that was Winnie the Pooh.
I definitely did.
Yeah. And the first one, they go to the movies to watch basically a Godzilla film.
Wow. Wait, they have a movie theater in the 100 Acre Wood?
So in Winnie the Pooh, they make it modern and they can go to the city and stuff like that.
Wow.
Did you know in the first short, when it was released theatrically, Christopher Robin had an American voice? And in re-releases, they removed it and gave him a British voice again.
Good. I'm glad they
Yeah,
did.
they should. And then so following that, I think the Tigger movie was the first like theatrical Winnie the Pooh film in a long time.
Winnie the Pooh was ever present in the Disney brand. But yeah, the Tigger movie was a sort of modest hit in theaters. It's 79 minutes long, and it is an unabashed showcase for Tigger.
Kids love Tigger. I mean, Tigger, I wonder, does he sell the most out of probably all the merchandise?
Probably. And I think we as a culture need to listen. I love shiny objects. I love candy, but you also need vegetables, and they have to be in proper proportion. And I think
there's too much Tigger in the Tigger movie.
Soul, like the soul starts to leave the body when it's too much Tigger. I'm reminded of the later American Pie movies where Stifler started to have too big a role.
Yeah,
Tigger is an ingredient. He's not the main show, because if he's the main show, you start to be unconscious of the fact that there's not that much to him.
And Tigger is also a supporting character. He's the blustering kind of doofus who promises a lot but can't deliver. You cannot make that the center of your story because there's nowhere to go from there.
That's right. Winnie the Pooh is like the nucleus.
Yeah.
He's the everyman.
Winnie the Pooh has a driving force. He wants that honey. That's what is defining, and that can be something that can lead to whatever adventure you want to do.
So the movie opens, the Tigger movie, which I had never seen until this week. And
why would you? It came out in...
I felt great, 35 years old, just firing up Disney Plus to watch the Tigger movie.
Yep.
But hey, I went in with an open heart and an open mind.
Hey, I mean, 2D animation? When was the last time you watched that?
I love 2D animation. And hey, this movie's not even that bad.
No, it's fine.
It's cute.
I will say that I was surprised that... So I guess the dream workification of animated films was in the process of happening by the time the Tigger movie...
What this movie actually owes a lot to, I think, is Robin Williams as the genie.
A little bit. There's a Tigger musical number.
Which might as well be You Never Had a Friend Like Me.
And that one is filled with like Jerry Springer jokes.
Oh
like
my
visually.
God. Yeah, it's the genie doing pop culture references. And if I could give me a pair of scissors, I would just cut that right the fuck out of this movie. It's completely against the spirit.
How did you feel about the songs in this film? Because I was shocked when the end credits came up that they were written by the Sherman Brothers.
Really?
Yeah, they were.
I mean, they're fine.
They're fine, but that's like the wheezing like 95-year-olds they wheeled out to do like Tigger singing about Tiggering or whatever. So this movie's about Tigger wants to find his family.
Yeah, it opens with Tigger's bouncing around the 100 Acre Wood, and everybody's just minding their own business. We can't always play all the time, which is a lesson I would give to the copyright owners and advise them against using Tigger this much.
Yes,
because Winnie the Pooh, Roo, Kanga, they're just trying to clean up their houses for a day. Nobody can go out bouncing with Tigger, and Tigger is upset because. Sometimes it's great being the only Tigger in the world, but sometimes you wish you had another Tigger to hang out with.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you feel about Rabbit? I like Rabbit.
I like Rabbit.
Now, what's interesting is that I watched...
If they made the whole movie out of Rabbit, I would hate him too.
Well, because he's the one who's tortured by all these characters. Mm-hmm. Like, he hates having to be in this situation. I was not shocked to learn that a lot of the Rabbit animation in the Many Adventures was done by Don Bluth, who has, like, that style of, like, oh... I watched 2011 Winnie the Pooh film. They made Rabbit into more of, like, a Daffy Duck-like figure, where he's, like, very, like, full of himself, that's taken down a peg. Don't know how I feel about that.
By the way, do you know who does the voice of Roo, the original cartoon?
No.
Clint Howard.
Clint Howard? Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Lots of Clint Howard talk on this week's episode of the Patreon.
Yeah.
Check it out.
We love Clint.
And so, like, this Tigger movie, it's fine.
So yeah, Tigger,
Yeah.
he can't get anyone to hang out with them. He alienates everybody because they're all tired of his antics, as I was by the end of the film. And he's like, I need to go out and find the other Tiggers. Surely there's a whole Tigger family tree.
Now, I was expecting him to find a Tigger family tree, and like, there's one with a mustache, one with a sombrero.
It'd be like Godzilla versus Kong, where he goes to the Middle Earth and he finds the Tigger colony.
I was thinking more of like Peanuts with all of Snoopy's cousins and stuff like that.
But no, he really is the only one of his kind.
In this post-apocalypse, like, there's only one.
And hey, I mean, there's only one Winnie the Pooh. I don't know. All these people seem to have a similar existential predicament.
I was surprised that this movie continues the visual language of the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Like, it's still a storybook.
It does. It's a little colder. It's a little more digital.
And that, like, it doesn't, as I keep saying, like, expand beyond that. I think these theatrical movies, they needed to expand a little bit beyond what they were. Now, I don't remember the TV show that much. I'm sure they had many other adventures and new stuff was introduced. But for the movies to go back to like, all right, we're back to the many adventures, it's like, you need something more than that.
I mean, if I were in charge of the Winnie the Pooh franchise, I would just take a Miyazaki movie and rip it off.
Yeah, absolutely. Like My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah, exactly. My Neighbor Totoro especially. That's what it would be.
Totoro. I'm saying it wrong.
Totoro.
Yeah.
I would take that movie, and in fact, I would take the exact same plot. It would be a sort of like origin story where we find...
So it would be like just Winnie is the name of the movie?
Yeah.
Or My Neighbor Winnie. Just shameless at this point.
And yeah, it's all about like the kid, Christopher Robin, discovering Winnie the Pooh. Or fuck, I don't know.
And it's all about death, etc., etc.
Rip off Spirited Away and basically have...
Oh, like the 100 Acre Woods is like some magical land that they do have to get away from in some way.
And there's got to be some challenge of...
Heffalumps and Woozles, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Which were made canon in the next one, the Heffalumps movie, which I didn't see.
Didn't see that.
No, very digital looking.
Did you watch the 2011 movie,
did.
Winnie the Pooh?
You know how long it is? 53 minutes before the credits start.
What?
Yes.
So if anyone doesn't know about this, in 2011, Disney, having sworn off hand-drawn animated feature films, decided to test the market one more time. This was after Home on the Range and
So
Treasure
Home on the
Planet.
Range is the one that like... That was the death knell. They're like, that didn't do well. No more 2D animation.
And Treasure Planet, also the year before, was a massive flop.
Yeah, because I think Princess...
These movies each lost $100 million.
Oh, Tangled was supposed to be a 2D animation. At the last minute, they made it 3D.
Princess and the Frog was, though.
Yeah, Princess and the Frog
And that was a bit of a comeback. That was like, let's try it again.
But Winnie the Pooh was kind of like, we're going to try this. If it does well, maybe we'll go down this avenue. The problem with it is, it's so kind of loyal to the original animated film. There's nothing new there. Like, why would I watch this? And that's the big issue. Like, it's very well animated. You can see everybody's working very hard on it to basically imitate the style. But they even do the same gags. Like, they get stuck in a pit and they're scared of an imaginary monster. That's not a Heffalump or a Woozle. They just make up a new one. It's like a Terminator Genesis. It's like, oh, there's another thing. And they even use the words of the story to climb out of the pit. It's like, that's exactly what happens in the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. The same gag again. I guess the logic is, oh, well, kids won't know, but adults are bringing these kids to these things.
Did you enjoy John Cleese's narration?
No, bad. It was weird when he was like, there's no political correctness in the 100 Acre Woods.
It's interesting that you can't say the N-word anymore.
Oh, no, John Cleese.
But Disney goes through cycles. It goes through trends. It goes through phases.
Winnie the Pooh makes like $7 to $9 billion in merchandise every year.
Wow.
It's one of the top merchandisers.
It's a bear.
Yeah.
You know?
People love it.
It's a Tigger. Mm-hmm. Who wouldn't want to cuddle with those things? Maybe not Rue.
No. I mean,
Rue's okay. I mean, maybe,
is there anyone who's like a Rue fan? Rue is too much the kid watching that like it's an entry into this, but nobody I feel like is like, oh, I'm pro like only Rue.
But Disney goes through cycles, and as we know, in the 2010s, the company really devoted itself to picking its intellectual property off the shelf and doing live-action remakes or reboots. Eventually, they found their way to Winnie the Pooh.
So
how do you do a live-action Winnie the Pooh?
Now, the year before the Disney version, Christopher Robin came out, there was another movie that was basically the Finding Neverland version, where it was like, oh, we're going to follow the author. Margot Robbie plays his wife.
Wait, what was this movie called?
I don't remember what it was called, but like it may be a TV movie, but it's very funny that existed right the year before. It was a, remember when we all had Truman Capote fever and there was multiple dueling Capote movies?
Well, Christopher Robin, which came out in 2018, has been long known to us as...
the one that Alex Ross Perry co-wrote.
Yes, Alex Ross Perry, director of Listen Up, Philip, and The Color Wheel.
Now, I thought maybe he had done a very early draft and left. No, he was involved with the production the entire way through.
He's one of 5 credited writers, though.
Yep. I mean,
It took 5 people to write this script. They just took Hook and changed the title. And
so when this came out, I had no interest in seeing. Why would I? I mean,
Alex Ross Perry.
The animals look so not good. Like, and I'm only saying that having seen the trailer. And I understand the argument that they made of like, oh, we want to go back to the original books and have them look like that. Mm-hmm. Like Winnie the Pooh in this movie, he, as a CGI effect, I think they must have had like a puppet on set that they CG'd over his face in some shots.
Well, there's a sort of synthesis between the Disney style and the A.A. Milne style, as well as a more modern like CGI style.
And I mean, I was so excited to see the movie because it was made by heavyweight Mark Forster, the man behind... Is it The Kite Runner?
Monsters Ball.
He did Monsters Ball?
Quantum of Solace.
Yeah. World War Z.
So look, a journeyman.
Yeah, huge journeyman.
Like a middle-brow journeyman. Mm-hmm. But Alex Ross Perry among the writers, and as I've said a million times by this point, because it never ceases to tickle me that Alex Ross Perry was one of the writers.
Yep.
The premise of the movie, it's Hook, folks. It's Christopher Robin has grown up. The movie opens with him basically graduating from the 100-Acre Wood. He's having a final tea party with all of his little woodland critter friends, Roo and Kanga and the whole gang. They're all saying bye to him.
Something I like about this movie is that they kept voice actor superstar, who you've heard a million times since you were a kid, Jim Cummings, doing the voice of Winnie the Pooh and Tigger.
And he does a great job.
Because like if they did it now, it'd be like Chris Pratt or something like that doing Winnie the Pooh.
Right. And so it's good that they kept him because that voice is so important.
Yes, it's very important. Especially that, like, even if I look at the little freak on screen, I'm like, oh, but that's Winnie the Pooh. That gets thrown away eventually, even though the visual iconography is not what I'm used to with this character.
But Christopher Robin, he graduates. He leaves everything behind. He eventually grows up to become Ewan McGregor, who is a workaholic dad.
Oh, I mean, we never see these on the big screen, right? The workaholic dad who doesn't have time for his kid.
And it's like, it's a real Jersey girl, folks. He has to choose between hanging out with his daughter in a country weekend, or he has to go to the office on the weekend.
Now, I will say that when I saw the trailers, I assumed that like they were figments of his imagination or something like that. And that made me not interested in it as well. For people who haven't seen the movie, no, these characters just exist. Like,
yeah, I thought it was going to be more of a Calvin and Hobbes type situation.
Me too. Nope, they just exist in some pocket dimension. It's basically brush shot. Doesn't matter. That's fine. That's how I would want to approach this kind of material.
Yeah, I was willing to accept the mythology of it, sketchy. And if I have a beef with this movie, it's that it's very paint by numbers.
Yes.
Like it's sort of... It cosplays, it postures as something that's more like serious and thoughtful than it is.
Do you think it does? Like it's just like a sappy, like...
Well, but it has that sheen, that A.A. Milne sheen to it that whatever.
Now,
it's
the real question is, did you tear up watching this?
I don't know if I teared up, but I felt something.
Yes, I did too, and I was like, you bastards.
Yeah, and I kind of resent that I felt something because it's like I'm watching this movie, it's like I know what you're doing.
Yes.
I know all the tricks you're pulling.
Yeah, but
it's fucking working.
Isn't it watching like it's always nice to be tricked like that.
Yeah.
It's just you don't want to do it in like this gigantic budget production. That I have to say though, like I keep saying about these Winnie the Pooh things, it is relatively small scale about what happens. Where it's like Ewan McGregor has to give a big presentation and he gets distracted because Winnie the Pooh shows up on his doorstep and he ends up
Winnie the Pooh shows up, basically it's like Winnie the Pooh is summoned from this other dimension to be like, oh, Christopher Robin's become a workaholic.
Isn't it like sad right from the get-go of like Winnie the Pooh just sitting there watching the door waiting for Christopher Robin to come back?
Oh my God.
Seemingly for 20 years.
I mean, again, this did hit me. The idea, and look, you can't like get to a certain age and leave a bunch of things behind and not watch this movie and feel kind of like, oh
yeah.
I remember my stuffed animal.
I didn't play with my stuffed animals in a magical world where we had adventures and stuff like that.
But you did.
Oh no!
You did, but it was a magical world of your imagination.
The dog that wore overalls that I played with the most, he's going to show up and be like, Justin, why don't you play with me anymore? And so Ewan McGregor giving a weird performance in this movie, I have to say.
Really?
Like,
He's just kind of, I don't know.
He's there. Like,
Yeah.
this time watching it for the second time, I felt a little off, but I don't know.
I think what felt off to me about this movie is, Christopher Robin is visited by his beloved childhood friend, Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the frickin' Pooh.
And what he does is like, oh, you're so annoying, Winnie. Like, get out of here. As opposed to like, you're real? Oh my God.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I mean,
he's like, I have a presentation to do. It's like, you have a talking bear.
I know.
that visited you.
So that didn't quite work for me. What did work for me is the fact that they don't make Winnie the Pooh smart.
No.
Like, they don't make him. I was all geared up for a scene where Winnie the Pooh would, like an idiot savant, give.
Like a Forrest Gumpish.
Yeah, give an incredible speech about how, well, I may be a silly bear, but I know the importance of family. and I think you need to.
And you know, family values as well.
Yeah.
He's very conservative.
And you and Ben Affleck need to go to your daughter's production of Sweeney Todd right now.
Jersey Girl in it. No, Winnie the Pooh is just basically the creature he's always been.
Yeah, and he becomes a catalyst of some growth, but not by his own accord.
No, he doesn't even really know what's going on, which is the way that it should be.
He doesn't know why he's been summoned.
No.
He's just there. So that's clever. I like that.
I will say Tigger being a supporting character who is basically an asshole who creates any trouble in the movie, that lines up.
Tigger is perfectly used in this film.
He looks a little scary too. He has like very close eyes that are blue.
As the movie went on, I sort of got on board with the creepy, photorealistic
Creatures,
CGI
yes.
creatures. Yeah.
And like rabbit and owl are real rabbits and owls.
Yeah.
Like these are definitely all choices that were made.
Yeah.
And the way that Mark Forster shoots it is all like handheld, like zoomed in, trying to give it like he's just ripping off Where the Wild Things Are.
Yes,
that's what he's ripping
you're
off.
right, he is.
And if you're gonna rip something off, why don't you rip something? Isn't that a movie that's been forgotten to time? That Spike Jonze movie? That's weird, isn't it?
I remember it being kind of good.
It is really good, yeah. But anyway, so at the end, does he learn that he's been a bad dad and then he has to stay with his family?
Well, I would never dream of spoiling it.
No, of course not. I have a lot of questions.
Him sitting on the bench with Winnie at the end, they're hugging,
and they're just watching the sunset.
I don't know. Of course, I felt something. I'm human.
Well, how do they go beyond this? Do they now live with Winnie the Pooh? Do they have their own they visit every week?
Pass me that Winnie the Pooh bear you just showed me. I'll show you how they go beyond it.
Oh no,
that sweet little thing.
But this movie did not do well.
It did okay.
Yeah, but that's like they wanted it. Basically, I feel not like a Winnie the Pooh renaissance because Winnie the Pooh.
They wanted a $200 million movie.
Yes, that would then start. Oh, we can then start making theatrical Winnie the Pooh films again. But that's not like where they're going, which makes you think is there just a baseline of Pooh where he will always live as something that is universally known, but there won't be any new materials to consume?
I don't like the idea of Winnie the Pooh. Having had my longest exposure to him in 25 years easily this week, I like the idea of him being small scale and modest. I think I don't want to see a movie where Winnie the Pooh has to travel to the city to save Piglet from the evil dog catcher or some stock hack
It's
plot.
it's a remake of Okja.
Ong Bak, you mean?
No.
Okja. Yeah,
where he's going to be slaughtered.
I mean, if they go that far.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be following that. Or I don't know, he becomes a rap star or something like that. Now, I made a joke last week that there hasn't been a Winnie the Pooh in the Lunatics, which is when the Looney Tunes characters became superheroes. But then I discovered that there is a CGI, and how dare they? It's the Tigger and Winnie the Pooh. The Tigger's name is before Winnie the Pooh.
Oh my God, no.
Do not like that, where they're like superhero detectives.
Sounds pretty cool.
No, yeah. I mean, you're going to be checking it out. I say in 10 years, we're going to get another CGI Winnie the Pooh movie.
Well, I think we were always within 5 to 10 years. We're always within 2 to 10 years of some big Winnie the Pooh thing because he's a bear and he's plush and he looks fun to hug. Therefore, you will never not sell Winnie the Pooh dolls.
And, I'm just preparing myself. There's probably going to be a lot of Winnie the Pooh in my future. I wonder if it's something, though, that do kids get it through osmosis, or does it need to be introduced to them by nostalgic parents?
I wonder. I mean, I feel like there's probably always some Winnie the Pooh TV show.
Yeah,
and that's where they find it.
Well, the thing is that, it's got to be on Netflix, though, or Disney Plus, because there ain't any, straight-ahead TV channels anymore that kids watch. So, as per usual, you can send us letters at the Important Cinema Club podcast at gmail.com.
Is it not just Important Cinema Club podcast at
What did I say?
You said the important.
You're right. I confused myself because our Patreon is the Important Cinema Club. Like a stupid man when I did it, I went both ways. All right, so our first letter is from Brandon, and he goes, "Hey, Justin and Will. Firstly, I would like to thank you both for your great work. I often listen while feeding my 4-month-old, probably watching Winnie the Pooh as well, in hopes to psychologically tie hunger fulfillment with the concept of Shemp Howard in her mind." Recently, I put on The Real Cancun, the infamous attempt by real-world producers to bring reality TV to the cinema.
Hell yeah.
So, where did that come up in one of our episodes?
Well, I'll tell you my experience with The Real Cancun.
You saw it at Spectacle Cinema, I remember that.
That's right. I had a great time watching it.
I've never seen it, so we didn't do a Patreon episode.
No, I don't think we did. You should see it. Let's do that soon.
Okay. We need to get Mark in on this. I'm sure he'll have a lot of perspective.
It was, I mean, obviously, we all know what a documentary film is, but this was an experiment in making a reality movie, you know, like Jersey Shore or something, but in movies. And it was filmed in March 2003. The Iraq War was happening.
Yeah. Well, it's an extension of, and I mean, even people our age, we weren't aware of this, but like The Real Life,
That's
the MTV
right.
show.
Or The Real World.
The Real World, yeah. That's how little I know. I've never seen a second of it. Yeah,
no.
me neither. It was a huge thing, which is why The Real Cancun is like building off of that.
And The Real Cancun's fun to watch because it's just depraved. And
The letter continues. Will's multiple mentions of it over the years put it on my radar, so I finally had to knock it off my watch list.
oh, wow. I feel like Mr. Holland seeing his opus.
You know, The Real Cancun, people have said it's an almost impossible to see movie because it's not streaming anywhere.
I've got it on DVD.
It's only the DVD. And like, you basically can't even find it on places where you would find those types of movies because no one is sharing it. Why would they share The Real Cancun?
Criterion, are you listening?
That feels like something
I feel like a preservationist.
I quite enjoyed the movie, partly because of the genuinely upsetting moral rot in its construction and presentation. It is kind of gross, right? Like,
I enjoyed the movie because of the genuinely disgusting moral rot at its center.
I feel you probably made that joke the last time we talked about it as well. The letter continues. Something I noticed is that the film is nearly all montage with no interjections from traditional reality TV talking heads. So it's like a direct cinema, if you will.
You're right.
That element read to me as a dark admission of what the creators and viewers of certain styles of reality TV know in their hearts. They don't think the cast members' thoughts matter, only how their base animal impulses serve our appetite as unaffected observers hungry for conflict.
It is only their base animal instincts serving viewers hungry for conflict.
With that, as well as the upsetting real-life political context the film was released in, as you mentioned, the Iraq War was going on.
Yeah.
While it was being filmed, right?
While it was being filmed, it was released a month later. A month later.
I was wondering, what do you think a 2020's version of the reality film would look like? Has one already been made? Would the cynicism about the human spirit be as obvious or take new forms? Best of both of you, Brandon from Indiana.
Well, it certainly wouldn't be theatrically released.
Well, okay, let's imagine a theatrically released reality film. What would it need to be to get that kind of distribution?
I think it would probably have to hook onto an existing IP.
Right, so it'd be like the Real Housewives. But like the Real Cancun, like, you didn't know any of these people that were in this thing.
That's
like,
right.
It's not, other than the Real moniker, like, there's nothing to go on. You're not following any characters.
One of the points of reality TV is that it's easy.
Yes.
Like, you can turn it on very easily and turn your brain off. But the idea, and people would only go see something in a theater if they were already very invested in it.
Do you think that's true? Or would they,
I think
the
so.
novelty of it would like bring them to it?
So I'm not, the novelty of it didn't bring it to them in 2003.
Because you're saying it's easy, but at the same time, like, you need to be invested in it, which is a lot of hours to get into, like, whatever, Vanderpump Rules and those characters.
Yeah.
Because if there was, like, Vanderpump Rules and they introduced a whole new cast of characters once you wouldn't watch it probably. You'd be like, this is not what I signed up for.
That's true. That's true. An unrelated thought, but there are a lot of like just documentaries from that time that wouldn't be theatrical movies today. Like Super Size Me wouldn't be a theatrical
It would be
movie.
a YouTube video.
Right. Or any of the Michael Moore ones, you know.
You know, they're not releasing the Jenny Nichols Star Wars. Did you watch that?
I've been meaning to.
It's so good.
Right?
It's 4 hours long. Earns every minute of it.
Man.
Just like her experience of deconstructing, like, this like boondoggle of an idea.
This Star Wars hotel.
This Star Wars hotel that could only hold like a couple hundred people per weekend.
Oh, man.
And cost $6,000 to experience.
All right, I'm going to watch this soon. It sounds really good.
But that's where these kind of like reality stuff, it's in YouTube stuff. I could see maybe someone constructing a high school is a documentary that's pretty famous, where it's like just following in direct cinema.
What,
kids.
like the Frederick Wiseman documentary?
I'm not thinking of Frederick Wiseman. It's the people who made Demon Lover Diary.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's not called High School, because there is a Frederick Wiseman film called High School, right? But that kind of thing. The problem is that like when you do that and you put it in theaters, those people instantly become famous, destroying their lives.
Yeah.
Like, and so there's like a weird push and pull there.
That happens on TV though, too.
All the time. Yeah. So it's like, to get that kind of phenomenon, it would have to have a weird hook and the reality TV basis of the story that you're telling. Once you have that hook, you're kind of, it's not reality TV anymore.
I would just say that my answer to what the 2022 or 2024, what year are we in? 2024.
What year is it?
Yes. I'm pining my lost youth when there was still potential. No, the 2024 equivalent of The Real Cancun is just like, look around. It's the distinctions between movies and TV and streaming content and YouTube videos. Yeah. It's gotten a lot blurrier. So it's the Real Housewives of whatever.
I feel, you know what? There will be a hit reality style documentary in the next couple of years. I'm saying it now.
All right.
Because people want that novelty in theaters. That like when Real Cancun came out, there wasn't really that novelty there about it.
Aren't some of those like streaming documentaries, like the Fire Festival documentary, or some of those true crime ones?
But if it was
it's close.
It's close. But if it was in theaters, there's something disposable about it being on streaming, and that's undeniable, right?
Yeah. So there needs to be a kind of event style. Yeah.
And again, can they do it without it being connected to a pre-existing property? Probably not, but I'd love to see it. Thank you very much for that letter. And our next one is from Jeremy, and he goes, "Hey, Import Cinema Club, I just watched Two Lane Blacktop starring James Taylor, and it has me wondering, how do you two feel about movies starring non-actors? I feel like, or famous non-actors to be specific, I feel like it's a subject that is always interesting. If they're bad, it's fun because look at Shaq, he sucks. If they're okay, it's like, wow, Kevin Garnett was pretty good in this. And if they're great, it's great. I think to a degree, there's just a novelty of seeing someone you know doing something they're not known for. But my favorite performance by one of these guys is Dexter Gordon in Bertrand Tavernier's Around Midnight. And I didn't know who he was before watching him. He's a famous jazz musician, and he plays a famous down on his luck jazz musician in Around Midnight. Is there something else there? It kind of feels magic. Like the director picked up a piece from one puzzle and with their auteur fingers placed it seamlessly into another puzzle. What are some of your favorite performances of this type? Thanks for the show.
Oh man, I'm having trouble thinking of some. I know, like the ones that come to mind are like the bad performances.
Absolutely,
I'm thinking
the Shaqs.
The Shaqs. I'm thinking of Bob Dylan in Masked and Anonymous.
Oh,
a movie.
You've seen many times.
Hey, I like Masked and Anonymous, but Bob Dylan's performance. Hey, I like Bob Dylan's performance too, but it's not what you would call good.
And there is a difference as well as like kind of non-actors within the context that we know them of. For example, the Beatles in A Hard Day's Night versus like a sports star or someone who's most commonly known as a pop star appearing in a starring role of something like Eminem in 8 Mile.
Like the Beatles are performers, which is not too far from being an actor.
Yeah.
Kevin Garnett, though, is another case.
I mean, they're performers as well. Like they're sports stars.
So.
They're putting on a show no matter what they're doing in front of millions of people.
I like Glenn Kenny, the girlfriend experience. Yeah. as the erotic connoisseur.
Yep. He's very good. I love that kind of stuff of like just some random like, wait, that's that person appearing in a role. Like, what is it? There's some like David Fincher films where it's like Gary Oldman's agent plays like the dean of whatever the school is in The Social Network. He's the guy just because David Fincher like wanted that particular attitude. Or, I mean, he would become an actor, but who was Orson Welles' guy that was in The Paper Chase?
Oh, John Houseman. Who was like not really an actor, but like from there he became and he could do a thing.
Yeah, he's doing that one thing. Look to the left, look to the right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I assume that they're not asking about like Robert Bresson, his use of non-actors.
Like non-actors. I think it's specifically this person, but they're in an acting context which you don't usually associate with them. I mean, there was that novelty when like John Cena was showing up and stuff back in the who could forget Judd Apatow's Trainwreck starring Amy Poehler?
I feel like David Lynch must have a bunch.
Yes.
Billy Ray Cyrus in Mulholland Drive. He's only in it for 10 seconds, but still.
I'm trying to think, who else does he bring into that, like...
Lost Highway has some pretty wild cameos in it.
I mean, there's an actor who should not be up on screen.
Oh, God, yeah, that's right. Poor guy.
Yeah, and I mean, when David Lynch was asked about that, he's like, I just like Richard Pryor. What like, that's why I'm putting him in the movie. It's like, come on, David.
Yeah.
I can't do a David Lynch impersonation. I'm
David Lynch.
Yeah. Do I really know what I'm doing? Wink?
Sound like Pee Wee Herman.
I do. David Lynch, Pee Wee Herman. I mean, if you just push David Lynch a little bit, he could have gotten his own kids' TV show in the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Weird Al got one. Like, why not David Lynch? Mm-hmm. We'll think about it, and then we'll do an episode about it later down the line.
UHF.
Oh, right there, Weird Al. Yeah. I mean, I love UHF.
Yeah.
But that is like a full auteurist project.
That's right.
Like his agent is directing.
He's not being stunt cast.
No. I mean, who could forget Bob Barker in Happy Gilmore?
Oh, that's it.
Yeah,
you got it.
All right. So as per
Dan Marino in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
I haven't seen that movie probably since we did our Jim Carrey episode.
Having a little trouble with the lady, Ace.
Is that a line from the movie?
Yeah.
All right. So
Stan Lee in Mallrats.
Oh, of course. I mean, Stan Lee in fucking a million movies after
Yoga
that.
Hosers.
Is he in Yoga Hosers too?
Yeah, he plays a cop.
Johnny Depp in Yoga Hosers.
Yeah, he's
not an actor.
Not anymore.
All right. So as per usual, you can send us letters at importantcinemaclubpodcast@gmail.com. And listen, we got fever. Oscar fever. Is it early? When do the Oscars happen?
I don't know. But listen, we're doing an episode on the Lifetime Achievement winners.
We have. And we talked for 40 minutes.
We just have a lot of opinions about people who have won, people who should have won, people who...
These fake honorary Lifetime Achievement Oscars.
Yeah, a lot of opinions about the Lifetime Achievement Oscars. We have some hot takes on people who we think their Oscars should be revoked.
Oh, yeah. We have a whole big plan we want about revoking Oscars.
Yeah, it's good, folks. Just trust us. It's good.
Patreon.com/TheImportantCinemaClub.
And another very important plug
of an honorary Oscar winner.
That's right. Our screening series returns to the Fox Theater in Toronto. That's right. Important Cinema Club Masterpiece Classics is back.
People are like, come back. You're banging down the doors.
That's right. We've had many great screenings so far, from Rumble in the Bronx to Hell's a Poppin' to Gamera Super Monster and beyond.
I can't believe they let us show Hell's a Poppin'.
It's insane. But on July 9th, be in Toronto. Mm-hmm. Come to the Fox Theater at 7 p.m. because we are paying tribute to the late, great Roger Corman with one of his movies that I guarantee no one else is showing. It's Hollywood Boulevard, directed by a young Joe Dante and Alan Arkush.
A movie that was basically made on a bet that they could make a film that cheaply using a lot of stock footage as well. These two young trailer editors who loved movies and made this film as if it was the only thing they would ever get the opportunity to put up on screen.
It's one of the wildest, wackiest, raunchiest, and funniest movies ever made about Hollywood.
Featuring Godzilla. Now, I don't know if they know where they got that Godzilla suit, right? Is that the one that John Belushi wore when he did the intro?
That's right.
Okay.
So Godzilla's in it, Dick Miller's in it, Mary Warrenov's in it. It's an incredible, Paul Bartel, incredible cult movie cast. It's wacky, it's wild, and it's showing at 7 p.m. July 9th. 2024. We're gonna make it worth your while. We're doing an introduction. We're gonna have some Joe Dante, Alan Arkush trailers that they edited.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, aren't you very excited to watch Amarcord with the trailer they edited, which Fellini preferred to the other one?
You're gonna see that helicopter explode. I promise you. And stick around because the same night the Fox is showing the similarly themed Ty West film Maxine.
That's right. That's a great double bill.
Make it a double bill.
Very thematically linked together.
So yeah, it's worth the trip to the East End, and it's also your opportunity if you want to talk to us, harass us, make us sign you an autograph. I'm sure you'd love.
Have we signed autographs at any point?
We've signed some people's books.
Oh, that's right. Because we wrote books. Because I was like, what would we sign?
Yeah, remember we wrote books.
Yes. That's right.
I think this is wishful thinking. I would love to be somebody who signs autographs.
Just regularly?
Do they do that anymore? It's mostly selfies now, right?
Yeah, I guess if you're there, you can take a selfie. I mean, I have a signature down.
Who wants our selfie?
Yeah.
But hey, some of you.
Woe is me. It's like, yeah, that's right. You come up and you approach us and you ask.
Yeah. So come on out. It'll be a great time.
So next week, Will, what are we doing?
We are returning to old Hollywood for the first time in a while.
Yeah, it's been a very long time.
We are talking about one of the guys that the French critics loved.
Oh, they love this guy.
One of the true auteur fetish objects.
And we haven't done him because I feel like it's too intimidating. That he has too many good movies.
He has too many good movies.
Yes.
But we're going to talk about Anthony Mann.
That's right. Anthony Mann, the man behind such great pictures as Raw Deal, T-Men, and The Furies, Criterion, Winchester 73.
Man of the West, The Naked Spur, The Man from Laramie. It's his stacked filmography.
And he was, I guess, I'm curious, reading more about him, how much of a studio director that he was, because a lot of his pictures were done for smaller outfits, but they're so slick because he was working with the creme de la creme cinematographer, the guy who literally wrote the book on shooting stuff, John Alton, and that but at the end of his career, he's one of those guys that what do we do with this old timer? I don't know. Make him shoot 180-minute bloated epics. Who's the other guy that did that? Oh, Robert Aldrich.
Yes.
He did Helen of Troy. It's ugh.
Nicholas Ray did one too.
He did? Yeah.
Yeah, the greatest story ever told.
Right.
How could you forget?
Man, months from now, when we're we've been eating so well, every episode, we've just loved watching these movies. We're going to be we're doing an old director doing epics episode.
Okay. Well,
so
and we'll be wow, these are bad.
Yeah, these are bad. But can you see their style in it?
I'd be interested, this is a digression, but I'd be interested in doing a Cecil B. DeMille episode at some point. Ugh. I know, but compare the early ones to the later ones.
I have that French Luc Moulet book dedicated because he loves DeMille. And can you make me get in there?
If it's good enough for Luc Moulet.
I feel those DeMille films have that spectacle, but you needed to be a kid watching them for them to imprint on you.
You're in a theater. It's the one movie you see in a theater.
You're Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
You see a train crash.
Specifically, you're Steven Spielberg.
Yes. But so next week we're doing Anthony Mann. Very excited.
I can't wait.
He's a filmmaker. I give a lot of 5 stars to a lot of his movies. So
he's good at making movies.
And spoiler alert, we're gonna watch the good ones.
Yeah.
So
I begged off mic. Justin was you've got to watch one of the epics. I'm I'm sorry. Can I please just, for once in my life, just enjoy doing this podcast? Can we have
for once in your life, enjoy
nice movies, fun movies?
You need to compare and contrast. If you're like Winnie the Pooh and you're just eating honey all the time,
yeah.
I mean, Winnie the Pooh seems pretty happy.
God forbid I just watch good movies.
Do you even know what good movies are anymore?
I don't know.
So Anthony Mann, that's what we're doing next week. Until then, my name's Justin McClue.
I'm Will Sloan.
Thanks for listening. As per usual, I would like to thank some of the new patrons, who include William Jones, Jacob Skidmore, Patrick Carroll, Ethan Skelly, Justin Benz, Matthew Bookin, Joe Miles, Rico Underwood, Daniel Toon, Alex Turner, Caleb Clements, Matt, Daniel Benoit, Brian Clarkson, Mike Calvin Vaughn, Madge Potatoes, Bobby Newman, Billy Jackson, Jacob Mervin, Jeremy Mert, Nicholas Carter, Sean Some Guy, Sam, David Greighton, Adam Rockwood, Alex Jason, Craig Lewis, Jeffrey Shorts, Evan Andrews, Greg Robinson, Erica, Grace, and Alex Sinesi. Thank you very much for becoming patrons. We could not keep doing this without you. It's a question that's been on all of our minds. What movies do you watch with your animals? Will, you're a dog man.
I have 3 now.
You have 3 dogs. What are their names? Hugo,
Jinx, and Shemp. Yeah.
Now,
Shemp's
you tried to do Larry, Moe, and Curly, right? And Shemp?
No, I only belatedly considered having a stooge dog name.
Were you ever Emile or Joe Besser?
I thought about Curly Joe. And
that'd be funny.
And in fact, I think Shemp would maybe be better as a Curly Joe. But
I mean, yeah, you're French. It's a French bulldog, right?
That's right.
It looks exactly like a Curly Joe. It's very lethargic.
But also Shemp, that's a schlubby name.
No, that's Joe Besser.
That's Joe Besser. How dare you?
Oh man, I'm sorry. I mean, Curly Joe also was not so hard. Please don't hurt me.
Well, yeah.
All right. And so do you watch a lot of media? You watch it in your living room. Your animals are around. What, is there triggers? Do they like certain things?
What they hate are people knocking at the door.
Okay.
Of my home.
Well, Hugo specifically hates that.
He hates that.
Yes. Hugo is the pandemic dog.
Yes.
He's
neurotic.
Neurotic. Like a certain nervous fellow in movies.
With none of the bad qualities.
No, none of them.
And Hugo's a very sweet dog.
Very sweet.
He's very loyal. He's a protector. He loves you. He doesn't love you, but he loves me. I think he would love you if he got to know you better.
No, yeah, when I'm over, he's falling asleep in my lap and stuff like that.
Yeah. But what do they watch? So I'll tell you about Hugo. For the most part, Well, we used to have a dog named Ivan who passed away.
Yes, that was like 300 years old.
Ivan never comprehended the TV, never looked at it, was never interested in it. Hugo is...
He was used to the written word before television came. That dog, very nice, but he looked very old.
He was very old.
He was like a greyhound.
Yeah, well, he's not here anymore.
Ivan. I mean, from his Russian origins when he escaped the revolution.
He was named after the brothers Karamazov. It's true. Yeah.
Anyway, so Ivan, no interest in television.
No, but Hugo, he's interested in heavy machinery. He likes...
Oh, wait, he likes heavy machinery?
He likes big trains. He likes
So he's like a 2-year-old.
He's fascinated by that. He'll look at that. He's interested in dogs.
Oh, some animals don't react to other animals on screen.
If there are dogs on screen, even a dog in black and white, he'll notice.
Really? Now, does he need to hear the barking first?
It helps.
Okay.
If there's barking on the screen, like he'll perk up for sure. But not necessarily. The craziest thing, though, one time we were watching Top Secret.
Yeah.
There's a scene in that movie of them dressed as cows.
Yes.
In cow costumes. And like, he went ape shit. He went
At the cow?
He went nuts. He was barking furiously at the screen at this cow.
Why?
I don't know. If I could ask him, I would. He was...
Now, he didn't grow up on a like, I know you got him very young, but like, he
didn't grow up on a farm.
No,
or
okay.
anything,
I was
no.
going to say that your partner's...
Yeah, I think he's just fascinated by the cow. He was like, what is that? Is that man or beast?
But like dinosaurs, if they're on screen, probably no reaction.
I don't think so. I'll try that out sometime.
All right. And so your new one, it's very young, 3 months old.
Shemp.
Currently in the other room sleeping, as puppies do.
Yeah.
Doesn't bark at all.
Doesn't bark at all.
Nope.
He pees.
I mean, he's a puppy. He's 3 months old.
Yeah. I don't think he's really... he just likes to nap.
Okay,
He's
so he
not
doesn't
that
really pay
interested.
attention. What about dog number 2, which is like
Jinx,
between those two poles?
She'll notice if there's barking on screen. She'll notice it, but she hasn't barked on the
Now,
screen.
are you aware when you're putting something on, you're like, this will bother the dog? I'm curious about these things. So I had a dog, Godzilla, and she didn't really care about anything happening on screen. Like if there was barking or something like that, she'd react. But like, no, other than that.
There's nothing that I would be anxious about putting on. It's more like if there's a doorbell in the movie, then that's a problem.
It's so weird how
I wish nobody would ring the doorbell in movies.
It's so weird that like, why is it like doors? I guess, is it an all-encompassing sound? It's also someone coming in, which they don't like.
Yeah, they don't like people coming in, and maybe they, they're pack animals, and I think they appreciate their space. They don't like their space being invaded.
Now, we have not talked about you being a dog dad very much on this podcast.
No.
I'm curious how it's changed the way you watch movies. In the way that, when people have kids, they're like, oh, I can't watch certain things anymore. I'm emotionally affected by different things.
I am much more affected by
I know. This was a loaded
deaths.
question
Yes.
because you have hundreds of Letterboxd reviews that's like, now as a dog father.
Yeah. So I say dog owner. I don't say dog father, but it's true. One in particular that got me was I watched Frankenstein, the Boris Karloff Frankenstein.
Wait, the movie you've seen a million times.
Yeah, I've seen it at some point in the last 5 years. And I remember, like, just any scene with Boris Karloff in that movie, it's like, oh, he reminds me of my dog, Hugo. It's like he's
So it's not even just like dogs. It's like dog kind of like characters.
Yeah, sometimes.
So like dumb a little bit.
Well, I think it's specific. It's Boris Karloff in that movie acts like an animal.
Yeah.
I think he must have studied the way that animals act.
It's a shame there's no documentation about that Frankenstein movie.
I'll never find out.
We'll never find out.
I just want to assume he studied
Now,
them.
do you try to avoid the like, I don't want any dog deaths in my movie because it affects me too strongly?
No, I mean, I'll watch the movie, but
It's a cheap pop. No, I don't like it either.
I don't like it. A few weeks ago, I watched Sean Baker's Starlet. Have you ever seen that?
Great movie, yep.
Yeah, it's really good. But there's a scene 2/3 of the way in where the older woman like loses the dog for a few minutes, and I spent that whole few minute stretch just being like, oh no,
Really?
no,
Even though
please.
it's like, it's a fictional film, Will.
I know, but
You couldn't do it.
what
You're
can
just
I
like,
say?
you're in.
What
You're
can
too
I say?
tied.
I can watch war movies, but this
For people who don't know, like, Will loves his dogs. He's always hugging them and kissing them, showing you photos of them.
It's true.
The tough exterior, there's a warm, gooey center.
Yeah, well, even Hitler was nice to his dog.
And I mean, that dog was Nixon's dog there in hell now. Checkers, I think. Wait, you just mentioned Sean Baker. We haven't talked about, isn't it like he won a Palme d'Or, didn't he?
That's right, he did.
He is one of the like geekiest art house directors like that, I think, working today.
He loves
Exploitation
physical media. He's always on Letterboxd saying what the special features are.
He's the one who asked Elon Musk, and he's like, "Can you make the likes go away?"
Yeah.
Like on stuff.
Yeah, because it turns out he has some interesting opinions about a lot of subjects.
Yeah.
Which I say, none of my business.
Yeah, no, ignorance is bliss, if you will.
I'd rather not know.
It's wild to see like a guy who admits himself that his first movie is a Kevin Smith ripoff. Have you not heard about this?
Did he have one before Starlet?
He did indeed. He had many before. So he had Takeout.
Okay.
He also
I
had,
don't know any of those.
There's one called it's like 4-letter word or something like that. It's basically like a Noah Baumbach Kevin Smith ripoff. And in interviews he said, "I am not good at this. Like I'm not doing this again." Wow. And it's basically been buried. Like go away.
I love that Sean Baker is a big Kevin Smith fan.
Oh, absolutely.
He's out there logging Jay and Silent Bob reboot and all that shit.
He is a huge Kevin Smith fan. He is maybe one of the few geeks that's like made good mostly by a filmography obsessed with sex work. Like, for a guy that, like, he is so geeky, you don't see it in his movies, which I think is fascinating.
That's true. He doesn't make genre pastiches, really.
No, not at all. Like, he's not even like, even someone like David Gordon Green who kind of shifted into the genre pastiche world. So the question is, what would be the Sean Baker dog film? That's what, linking the subjects together.
It's called Starlet.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Beautiful dog in that.
I really liked that movie, by the way.
Why did you watch it?
My partner and I were just looking at Mubi, what was on Mubi, and we settled on that. And I'm glad we did. It was very good.
Do you know how I became a Sean Baker fan? He went on Adam Green's and Joe Lynch's The Movie Crypt many, many years ago. And he was such like a geek that I was like, I gotta check out his other movies. And I went and rented Starlet from Bay Street Video as well as Takeout.
I like Sean Baker for casting Sandy Kane, the naked cowgirl, in the Florida Project. Sandy Kane is a old Times Square stripper who now goes out as the naked cowgirl. I met her once, and anybody who puts her in a scene with Willem Dafoe is okay by me.